why would you try so hard to build $1 billion company when all I've found that matters is hang out with cool people, going and having cool experiences.
Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, episode 100-something, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms. Today, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because you seem to have a lot of pod, and I'm not so sure anything
and you don't know
happened.
any of it.
I'm not sure anything has happened the last 2 days.
I don't know where to start.
A couple of things.
I know where to start. Oh! Fuck those letters.
Well, I was going to say, we have here on the desk, so people go watch on YouTube, we have 3 letters from the U.S. government for clipped ink.
Okay.
We are going to open those at some point, unless they don't relate at all to anything you want to do or go.
I was telling you before, this is one of those podcasts where I'm like, I hope people listen all the way through, because we had an hour episode recently. I only got through like 15 minutes, but I'm like, there are some gems at the end. Maybe we have a table of contents. I don't know, but I'm excited. I'm excited.
Put the Potbelly back up.
Okay. This is why, Belky. I'm fucking starving. I wanted to eat. I'm like, Belky, let me crush this sandwich. I got a fucking big ass steak sandwich. It was almost $20. I'm stoked to eat it. What did I tell you right before I ate it? Like, there was something off about the guy who gave it to me.
Okay. Oh, no.
He's binked out. Okay. This guy, objectively speaking, retarded. Like, Special Olympics, gone.
Okay.
Clearly, like, shit wasn't registering when I got there. But I'm like, fine. Dylan, it's just, you got my shit. And he's like, Dylan. And there was a bag over there that said Dylan. And I'm like, okay, there's the bag. And then he looked to someone like all confused. I don't know if he doesn't speak English or what. But then I'm get it. And I'm like, okay, Dylan, Uber Eats. I opened my bag. What the fuck's on this one? Barry Scahen? Who the fuck is Barry Scahen? What is this shit? Actually kind of looks... It's like a ham. I'll eat this. I'll fucking eat it.
I'm like, well, I see some roast beef.
And I got a steak sandwich.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got your $20 steak sandwich. Now you have Barry's sandwich.
I was worried because I saw him pull the bag, and I'm like, all right, there are 2 sandwiches there. He's just got to grab the one that says Dylan and not Barry.
Oh, Barry. Well, you're both gonna have a bad day, but at least it was pod fod.
I know. I didn't even look at what the sandwich was because I'm kind of excited. I'm not as upset as I was because I'm like,
that's a decent looking sandwich. All right, this has
probably what I
pickles,
would have
tomatoes,
ordered.
onions. Go on YouTube. You can see the sandwich. We won't do the mukbang, but here's a sandwich to kick off episode 100. And
it's so gross.
Well, now we're making a mess. Okay, Pop. I'm sorry. I think the solution here is you should drink your food, and then you can do it while we're on the podcast because it's like having water.
Okay. I have a lot. I don't really know where to start. Okay. Belky, you remember?
What even realm, like...
You don't know.
Is it business?
You don't know.
Is it life? Is it... We're going to Hassan Minhaj's show tonight?
No, I'm going to talk about last night.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the problem, right? We can't... I can work in the studio. That's fine. I can work at home. That's fine. But I can't work outside. When we go to Starbucks or we go to any coffee shop, I can't work there. Why? Because if you put me outside, literally coming to the studio today, I don't know if you saw me, but literally we go out the door. The first girl I see, I fall in love.
I saw it.
I'm like, Belky.
I saw it. I saw the mental calculation. Dylan's like, can I go say hi to her or do I go to work? Well, I saw the mental calculation.
The calculation is also like, I'm leaving in 3 days. What is this going to become? I'm like, do I just tell her she's beautiful and like, hey, have a great day? I should probably do that. But instead, I just stared at her. Oh, I don't want to talk about.
Pop, there's 7 billion people in the world.
And I fall in love with literally half of them. It's not good. Okay.
I'm also concerned because in your pod, so far this is going great. Good work. But in your pod, you said you had the title for the episode before shooting it.
I don't know if
that's ever happened.
Me neither. I was writing 2 words that were meant to be separate, and I'm like, push them together, baby.
Portmanteau.
We'll get to it. Fuck, dude. So one of the few times that we'd actually go out, you're like, Dylan, I'm gonna stay home, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I don't like working alone. And you're like, I'm going to Starbucks, and usually I'll meet you around noon. What happens at noon? Everyone gets off work. Right? So there's a flood of people. A lot of them are attractive. I'm like, huh. I'm supposed to focus and work now? It's like the 72 virgin shit. You're just dangling that in front of me?
What's 72 virgin?
I don't know. When you kill yourself as a Muslim or whatever. Like,
What?
don't you get like 72 virgins? It's like I've died and gone to Muslim heaven or whatever.
72 virgins.
Don't you get virgins?
Don't I get
Why
virgins?
are you making me question myself? I thought that's a thing.
Don't I get virgins?
It's like suicide bombers like, I want my virgins. That's the joke or whatever.
What? Suicide bombers are virgins?
No, when you die and go to whatever their heaven is, you're bequeathed a bunch of virgins and you just have at it. I think.
So people who are kamikazes go to heaven and are gifted virgins to deflower?
Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe people just don't realize how fucking crazy that idea is.
That's nuts. Why?
Because they're like, what's dope enough? 60? No, fuck it. 72. You get 72.
Oh, so they're like, you should be a suicide bomber because in the afterlife you will be presented with 72 virgins.
I don't know if that's the number
So
one
that's the sell.
factor. That it could be. Their marketing's pretty good.
I've never ever heard anything like this.
I'm saying Christianity, you got to offer some more virgins.
Okay.
Okay, that's not the point at all. My point is, it's
The
like
title is now 72 virgins.
that's not. That might be better than mine. But it's basically like the second I step outside the house, I get hit by a car and I go to fucking heaven. But most of the time, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stay down and work. Like, there are a lot of cool people, but we want to stay focused. But we're working at this little spot. We get this table that's like right on the sidewalk. That's where all the traffic comes by, which is like, God, if you're sick of dating apps, like this is the shit. Like you just go there and you see someone and you like semi have the balls to talk to them, or what do girls have? Ovaries to talk to them? Jesus, 7th grade like health ed or sex ed. Then that's awesome. But what happens is one girl walks in, and you know my type. My type's like between 5 foot and 5'5", Latina. This girl walks in. She's right in that range. She's looking really good. Really tight outfit. I don't know her personality yet. I'll find out.
Okay.
So she's just, she's like orders, and it's a really long order. And I'm just kind of like the stare across. And I don't know if I got your attention. I'm like, yo, Belky, like, how do I talk to that girl? Do I have to like fake order a coffee? What do I do? And you're just like, you're fucking normal shit because you don't talk to anybody. Finally, she gets her order.
This fits in the self-development portion of the show, right?
Yeah. But that's one of the three. I don't know if we said that at the top.
This is the self-development.
It's also kind of a challenging norm. Is that the same thing? I don't know.
No,
what the
it's
fuck
just
it is.
become the best version of yourself.
Okay, so I'll like get to the point punch. She gets her shit. And she had like, I think she had like a CVS bag with a bunch of Red Bulls and this coffee. And she was in, I don't know, it was like scrubs or something. She looked like medical dressed up. And so she leaves. And I'm like, all right, like the shit when like I can't control myself. I'm like, all right, I just fuck, like, I gotta go. Fucking grossest noise. That's my opener. Okay, so I come up and I don't know what the fuck I said. I probably said like, yo, you just had like a cool look. And then I was like, oh no, like going to a fucking party or whatever, like Jaeger bomb. I don't know. We joked about Jaeger bombs. I blacked the fuck out. She blacked out too. We have no idea what happened. The gist was like she was in a rush. She only had like 2 minutes, but I'm like, no, you seem like probably cool enough to talk for more than 30 seconds. And so I get her info. But right after she texts back, I'm like, oh, this is going super well.
Okay.
This is awesome. But we're texting and I'm like, yo, we should hang out. Like, when are you free next few days? And she's like, maybe like, I don't know, after work or something. It was kind of difficult, and she seemed interested, but then she just disappeared.
This is also like 2 months ago, right?
It was probably like a month ago.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe 6 weeks. I don't remember. But she disappears. I'm like, this is weird. Like, she was definitely into me. Granted, we only talked for 2 minutes, so it's like every day that goes by, you're like, fuck, she probably forgot like how awesome I am, and it's kind of sad. But I'm like, I could have sworn there was something there. And she's like, no, I was she said she was sick, that's why she couldn't meet up. Then she ghosted. and I'm like fucking crazy. So I'll just like keep texting as if they're still there. I'm like, hey, cool tweet, .eu, or like I don't know what the fuck I said. I could probably read it, but she's gone, and I'm like, okay, I just move on with my life, and I go out. This friend Matt is kind of similar to me, so he talks to a lot of people. I've been meeting a lot of people.
Don't tell me this is gonna come full circle with Matt.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. God, this might be a long story. Sorry. This is the first time I'm telling it. I've just been. I was staring up at my ceiling all night, rattled, dude. Absolutely.
What?
Rattled.
Okay.
So,
how come I feel like most times you meet up with these people, it ends with you staring at your ceiling, rattled?
dude, I was like the weirdest, semi-depressed, semi-exuberant feeling. I didn't know. It was a fucking cocktail of emotions. This felt different. Okay. So let me scroll back. Oh wow, we texted a lot. Okay, hold on. I was shooting stuff into the abyss. Oh, okay. And I would send like audio messages too, because I'm like, probably like when you just see text, it's like, oh, this person isn't a person. That's just a robot sending messages. But you're like, oh, no, like hey, I think it'd be fun to hang out. If you don't want to, that's totally cool. Boom, send it. I kept hitting her back, and then Tuesday. What is today?
Friday.
Today's Friday. Tuesday, I get a text out of the blue. The last text before that was, I was just texting myself, was in August. Okay, so I hadn't heard from her in over a month. And I get, hey, maybe I shouldn't read this out loud, but it's like, hey, basically, don't hate me. She just got sick.
Yeah,
she got
summarize.
Strep throat.
She got strep throat.
Someone stepped on her throat twice. She got strep throat twice. And so she's been like out and like wasn't allowed to socialize or like was just fucking beaten down by whatever diseases are in strep throat. And
Streptococcus being the one.
Yeah. And I've had it before. It sucks ass, and especially I guess if you get it twice. So she's like, yo, I had strep throat for 2 weeks or like twice, and each time had 10 days. I don't know. It fucking like the math checked out. She's like, I couldn't hang out. But I'm back. Okay, sorry. I'm belaboring this fucking point. She's like, do you want to hang out? I'm
Okay.
Like, okay, let's hang out. I'm glad you're healthy again. Some shit has changed. I don't tell her that, but
no, I'm nervous because you don't you tell it like it is. So if you're telling these things, I know they are all absolutely necessary in whatever transpired last night.
They might not be. I don't know. I haven't vocalized all this stuff. Okay, so we're like, okay, whatever. Let's meet up. Last night was Thursday night, so like, I don't know. We had some sexy little banter going back and forth. I don't know. We like basically. I don't know like how to.
Can I make a guess?
Okay.
Can I make a guess that you're depressed because you're leaving Chicago and exuberant because it went so well?
Kind of related. Kind of.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay, so part of me is like trying to tell this story, kind of like what I did the other day, where I've been asking this question of people, like, what did you think when we met? And so I get their side of the story. So like I'm gonna tell partly her version of like when we met,
okay,
and also her impression, but I like don't know to do that after or during.
Okay.
So we're gonna do it after. But basically, I tell her like, oh, I don't know. Somehow the pod came up. I sent her that episode where you fucking you like fart the rooftop. Yeah. That's like my favorite episode. So I send that to her, and I'm like, fuck, this girl's gonna think we're fucking like special, crazy, like stupid. And somehow Instagram came up and like, because she was like, yo, sorry, this story is fucking stupid, but she's like, oh, totally random. I've just been thinking about this for a while. I never took off my mask. You don't even know what the bottom half of my face looks like.
Oh no.
And I'm like, no. I don't know. I salvaged it, whatever. Like,
okay, well, I'm gonna say like there's this problem with masks that we have especially found in the pandemic is when somebody is wearing one, it is, I believe, human nature to envision them as you wish they are to look.
Yeah.
Then they take the mask off. Your expectations are what they are in your head. They're not what they are in reality. You become very unhappy. She knows that.
Right, she knows that. Okay, luckily she knew this. And I've been catfished before, so I got a little nervous. I got a little nervous, and I kind of like we played this thing of like, oh well, like kind of like got her Instagram basically. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot like this girl's like beautiful. I'm like,
Okay.
oh fuck. That's why I lost my shit. Okay. So I sent her that. I also, and so she gets my Instagram too. And I'm worried. I'm like, so she saw the podcast where you fart in the fucking microphone. And then you see my Instagram, which for those of you that don't follow me at Dylan_Jardon, the first photo might be the gayest looking photo a man has ever seen.
For those of you who don't follow me at Dylan_Jardon. Yeah.
It's me lying on a fucking tree branch with looks like no bottom half, a long...
Here's the problem, Pop. Here's the problem that we figured out. So these are your high school senior graduation photos. It looks like you today.
She also didn't know that this...
Very confusing.
Very
confusing.
I haven't changed much.
You did for a while. You did for a while. You did. When
I got fat and...
Yeah, you got fat for a bit. Columbia Pictures. And then you trimmed up again. And now you look like high school you, but stronger.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm worried because now I'm like, yo, I just sent this girl, like, I don't know what she's going to think. I'm like, okay, maybe she's just going to disappear. Actually, okay, so what I wrote as the title for this, because I was like the gay photo and the farts. I'm like, gay farts. We're going to call it gay farts. But
call it gay farts, Pop.
I don't want to anymore. It's not as spontaneous in the moment. But, okay. This story is so fucking long. I hope you're listening on 2x speed because I also kind of want to tell this Eddie story. Okay, fuck it. Dylan, stay focused. Stay focused here, Dylan. So we finally like...
Eddie is not self-development. Eddie is actually don't date a crazy person because they will leave you for their ex-lover in the club.
Yesterday, they're like, hey, Dylan, today, do you want to go to Six Flags with us? And then I'm like, okay, maybe I got this like Hussin thing that I'm going to. And I asked her today, I'm like, you decide what you're going to do? And she's like, oh, no, they fought again. So we're not going. Kind of like, okay. But whatever. Okay.
Six Flags is so far away. It's so far. It's an hour and a half away.
It's also like at night because it's like haunted shit.
Oh, yeah. Diener wanted to do that.
Okay. So despite all of this, she apparently watches the full ass episode of our podcast and liked it and was like looking up our shit and was like super into it. And I'm like, oh, dope. That was one of the few episodes where I think you can make it fully through. This one people have tuned out a while ago, but she's like dope into it. Meets up. She's actually far out. She's in Naperville.
Naperville. Sorry. Like Napster.
I've only seen it on Google Maps.
There's only one P.
So it's Naperville?
Yeah.
Naperville. So she's in Naperville, which is like, I don't know, fucking 40 minutes
Dude,
an hour
Naperville is way funnier. How about the title is Naperville and the thumbnail is just some bozo asleep
by the Leaning Tower of Pisa out there? Yeah, what the fuck is that? Like half scale? Is there going to be a point to this story?
Anal Fissures and Freedom came out today. There's the thumbnail for the masses.
God,
what happened last night?
Okay, I know. We haven't even gotten to meeting up. I'm sorry, this is the first time I'm verbalized. It's just been a lot of pent up shit. So we finally meet up. I'm like, dope. This girl's awesome. She drives an hour in, like, looks fucking great, like, cool conversation. I'm kind of losing sight of the point of this whole story. Okay.
Go to your notes.
No.
Go to your notes. No. Take a drink. We're the shit. We're the short form guys doing the longest.
Angel, good luck cutting this fucking story. Oh, dude, I also remember. Okay, let me tangent for a second. I remember
the whole thing's a tangent.
there was
the whole thing is a tangent of Nibby.
That's the only good story here. No, so there was this hockey tournament. It was like a father-son hockey tournament, or just like this adults tournament. My dad was bringing me back in college, and all the people that get initiated, they have to tell a story or like do something cool in front of the entire bus, which is like 30, 40 guys. And I come up, and I'm like fucking clearly not good at storytelling, but I try and like tell them a story, and what I realized is it's kind of like a humble brag story, which is also, it was basically me telling this story of like me fucking up meeting, this makes me look like a scumbag. But in New York, when I was like talking to a lot of people, I met this girl and it was crazy. Like we did this adventure and I tried to kiss her and she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I tried to tell this story in a funny way and it bombed. It absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, everyone was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" It was one of the most. I felt bad for Slick Rick. He's got to like be like, "Oh, that's my son." Luckily, it was an audience where they just shit on you actively. So they're like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?" Yeah, it was literally they were booing me as I was doing it. I'm like, "Fuck, this feels like that." But we meet up.
No, Pop, we're inclusive here.
Thanks. We meet up. We're talking.
I just have to offer some comedic relief because
please,
I don't
dude.
know the agenda.
I don't either. I wish I had like a North Star here. I think I have a North Star. It's that feeling. Okay. So we're hitting it off. It's cool. It's chill. We're talking. We're at Riverwalk, which is just like a nice place to be at night. And we're hanging out. And then I'm like, okay, we finished drinks in like an hour and a half. I'm like, oh, you like want to still hang out, do something? She's like, yeah, for sure. Because she's far away too. I'm like, oh, let's go to the roof. Like, just talking. Fuck, let me think the point of this story. Okay. So basically, like, we're hanging out. We're on the roof. Like, what I like. Oh, one thing too with we talked about like kind of whenever it's like, oh, who you're living with. Thiener came up and like me. Oh, okay. So this was it. At the start of the date, based on Thiener had her intervention with me about being too touchy with. I'm gonna say her friends because they're definitely not my friends. But when I I was touchy, and so now I'm very cognizant of that. And so I told her like, oh, because I realized I touched her like this pretty early on. I'm like, oh, if I'm like too touchy, like just let me know. She's like, no, I'm Mexican. Like, what? Like, you're not touchy enough. And I'm like,
That's confusing for you.
I know. I'm like, fucking Asians just don't like touching. Latinos love touching. They like. That's what I love. I just love like being. That's my love language. I'm just like super touchy. But okay, so we're hanging on the roof.
I did my love languages. Physical touch, like 0, absolute 0. You give me some acts of service though, we can pop.
Acts of service.
Acts of service.
Easy. I'm not sucking no balls.
So like when we show up to the pod and you don't do shit to set it up, you're not getting nothing from me, Pop.
No action that night. Okay, whatever. It's going like this story fucking sucks. Okay. I've just been so fucking frustrated. Basically, it's going like super well. I'm like super connected to this girl.
Did she storm out?
No.
Okay.
But we go. I'm like, I don't know. I was kind of cold, and I'm like, yo, is it cool if we just like hang out downstairs because I'm cold? She's like, yeah. And we go downstairs, but then we didn't want to hang out in the living room because we'd be loud and probably wake you up. So I'm like, oh, is it cool if we just like I've never like asked, is it cool? But I'm like, oh, it was also like super chill. Like we just trusted each other a lot for some reason. So we go back to like just hang out on my bed.
Then what happened?
The whole time I was like, I'm I'm really embracing this radical honesty thing. And so early on, okay, I forgot the whole fucking point of this thing. Well, early on in the date, I told her like, hey, she's also 26. I didn't even realize that. Because she looks like she's like 20, 22. So she's in like a more serious part of her life. And that came up. And I'm like, oh, just so you know, I'm like leaving on Monday. And she was like, because she's like, she was pretty into.
She
like,
cried?
No, it was. I've been like really fucking horny lately. So this is why I think this is why this is so tough for me. But okay. So we're like on a bed, like Call Her Daddy. This is turning into Call Her Daddy.
You're so deep in it.
I know, and I don't know the point of this whole fucking story. This is like the fucking riddle that we tried to do. I just kept butchering it, and we had to shit on the whole episode.
And then you never shoot a podcast again.
I'm sorry. Okay, so we're just there. Basically, it's like we're super into each other. She likes me, like as a like she would want to date me, and
cool.
I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. But like definitely
you're leaving on Monday.
I'm leaving on Monday. And fuck, so we're just there and this story sucks ass. But basically we're super into each other and I've never felt this before. I'm like, hey, just so you know, I've been kind of like seeing a girl outside of this.
Oh.
And so now she's like, oh, you're leaving on Monday. and you're seeing a girl. Why the fuck are we meeting up?
Oh, Pop with the radical honesty.
I'm like, oh, did this radical honesty backfire? I'm like, maybe I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, should I have just not told this girl that I'm leaving, and also not told her about like kind of seeing a girl, even though we're not dating or anything?
If you go the radical honesty, you gotta stick with the radical honesty.
I know, I was going full blown.
It will come back in spades.
Maybe
if it works.
I don't know. So she's like, I'm gonna put. I don't want to hook up, and I'm like, yeah. She's like, why would we meet up? Like when I didn't know she was 26, I didn't know she was like into serious stuff. But I'm like, yeah, basically I saw it one of two ways. Like either you wanted to hook up and like I'd be down for that, or you didn't, and I'm like also cool with that, and I just want to get to know you, and maybe we meet in the future again.
Pop, that was the point of the story, Pop. That's beautiful so far.
I was kind of hoping she's like, fuck it, let's just hook up.
Of course you were.
But it's like, okay, I can't set the stage, but we were like literally
Easy.
like really, really close on my bed. Like really, I've never felt like sexual tension this. It was like we're looking.
Sparks.
I don't, Sparks too, I guess. But we like literally, we couldn't look at each other. Cause like, I'm like, if we look at each other,
I can't.
It's
like a soap opera.
I know.
I can't.
Telenovela. It was fucking.
I can't. There's somebody else. You're leaving Monday. Oh no. I can't look at you.
She's really hot too. And okay, so here's the problem, because I know like, okay, I like fucking.
Okay.
I was involved with like the dating coach community. Like I know exactly. If I want to like sleep with this girl at the time, like I know exactly what to say.
Okay.
I'm like, I can do that if I want right now. Like,
would that be radically honest?
In my head, I'm like, there's a 95% chance we never meet up again.
Right.
Or there's a 100% chance we hook up right now. If like I say these things, we do these things.
What did you do, Pop?
I said no.
95%. Never see her again. You chose the 95% route.
I mean, I don't want to make it. She also kind of chose it, but like I.
Here's the thing: if she's as cool as she is, and you're as cool as you are, that will actually be a good thing.
But
in however many months' time,
I know we're never gonna meet again. And she was, okay. She's really attractive. She's my type. And I was just like,
to bring this full circle, she's my type.
It's like I've never. Maybe it's like I don't know. Okay. I was just like never. I was just like fucking. I was literally. We were walking to her car, and I was like squeezing myself. I'm like
I'm in my skin. I can't get out of my skin.
I'm like, we're never gonna talk again. I'm like, it's right. And I've been taught, like, I've been fucking beat into my head, like, what the fuck are you doing? You'd never do this. Like, kind of like the dark side of that whole, like, dating community shit was like, oh, like, sleep with her, like, even if you, like, tell little white lies, or I don't know what the fuck you call them, but, like, it's just very, like, sex addicty. And I'm like, I was never that way. And
well, right. The white lie would have been to not say you were kind of seeing one and that you're here for the next 2 years.
I know, and then I just like maybe we hang out again on the weekend, and then I never talk to her again or something. But okay, so it's basically like we go back to her car, and fuck, dude, and then like we said bye, and then we ended up like kissing a little bit, and I was like, and she's like, she wanted more, and then I wanted more, and I'm like, oh my god.
And then she got in the car and left.
No, she drove me back. Like we'd walked to, she had to go to a parking garage, and then she drove me back, and I've never been torn. I was like, even right now, I'm like, what the fuck?
Are you gonna leave here and go find her?
I don't know. But what happened? So I was like in my bed, and I'm just like staring at the ceiling, trying to fucking listen to music, and like
you were that.
I'm literally
you're that like torn.
Yeah, and
I'm laughing at you.
No, just because I'm like, am I growing as a human being? Is that what this is? No. Why, dude? I'm 24. Like, why? Okay, so then.
Oh, now you're confused about radical honesty?
I'm confused about like what the fuck is the point of this whole life? Like, okay, that's the point of the story.
There's the point, Pop.
That's why I was like mildly. I'm like, why? I finally meet someone who's awesome. Like, it's really cool. I like it. It's a cool connection. But I'm not going to live in Chicago. So it's like, why am I moving all around meeting people? And then if I do actually like them, I'm gone in a week.
In the 30th minute hour, the bomb drops.
Dude, it made me question. I'm like, fuck, should I just move to New York? And like, what is the point of
Holy
all of
moly,
this?
Pop. What is the point of it all?
It was really, and I don't think this isn't a girl I would marry. Like, but
sounds like you just don't know.
I'm like, I don't know. I would just like love to hang out with this person more and not be like, oh, I'm going to Miami for a month just to fuck around. And then I'm probably going to LA, and then maybe I'm going to Ecuador, and then maybe I'm going to New York. Like, people, unless you live our lifestyle and like Thiener can come along with it, it's impossible to find someone. And I'm like, granted, I like the fuckboy shit. Like, that's fun. But like me seeing this girl like 5 times, which is kind of rare for me. Like, I'm not like, I wouldn't normally go on dates with people and like do a lot of that stuff. I'm like, oh, I really like this. Like, I like actually, like, I've just been having the same conversations. I'm like, oh, are you adventurous? Oh, do you like to jump off bridges? Like, fuck that conversation. I'm sick of that. I like actually getting to know somebody.
That's what ends up happening, right? Like, when Thiener and I met, after a while, she's seen a lot of people, probably more than me, but she was like, I don't ever want to go on a first date again. Because it's just like,
but
it's
then
that conversation over and over and over again.
Here's what happened. So that girl that I'm kind of seeing, we were walking back one morning to her apartment, and we just like, I dropped her off, and on the way back, I saw like 3 more girls that I fell in love with, and I'm like, fuck, dude.
You're like, what?
It's really. My dad told me about this because when I told him I was going to New York, and I really want to learn how to like just talk to people during the day. Oh, I have her side of the story too. I haven't told yet.
Oh,
Fuck.
Yeah. Wait, no, Slick.
I know. Let me stay focused for once. Okay. And Slick's like, yeah, but it's kind of like the hedonic treadmill of when are you just going to be happy? Because you're always going to see that next shiny, new, awesome person. And you're like, oh, I want to meet them. Like, when are you just content with what you have? Sort of the other side of things from the dating world is like sort of the open relationship. Like the person I worked for was... It's like, oh, well, if you're really into someone, you're really just stress testing your own relationship. And if it's really that good, every other person should make you be like, oh, no, she's actually the one. And that I actually believe in, because like I like this person a lot more, like, and it just solidifies that relationship every time. So I don't fucking know. All I know is it's like the most frustrating, saddening thing when it's like, sex is cool. That's fun. But it's like, what the fuck is that at the end of the day? Like, I'll just jerk off. Like, that's fuck. I guess we're getting vulgar here. But like,
hey, this is one for the Gen Zers in the house. That's all I'm saying. You're figuring it out.
I know there's a lot, but I don't know.
Entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms, and jerking off. That's the Smart Nonsense
part
podcast.
Of me. Okay, sorry to like bring that up, but like part of me is like everyone that was in this sphere as like the coach of like teaching people, oh, how do you meet someone during the day? Almost all of them are or were depressed.
Oh, but aren't they all in relationships now too?
Oh, like the ones that are happy, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So it's weird to see. I don't really know. Grant, I don't know.
I didn't ever thought of it in terms of being hedonic.
I didn't ever thought of it. How about
I didn't ever thought of it think of it as
the
being
2 sentences
hedonic.
You say this podcast.
The hedonic gay farts.
No, it is though, because it's like, oh, this girl's more beautiful than that one, or like her personality's better, and it's like, you're like, when does it stop? And
it's also difficult because when you meet someone, you have that, what do they call it? The honeymoon phase. Or if you read a book like The 5 Love Languages, it's called the in love phase. And that's like very different from the rest of the relationship. The in love phase is like, everything's amazing. This is going great. That is the person. And then that wears off over time. And then it's like, well, who's really what you want after that phase? And who's willing to put in the work after that phase?
So this is where, like, I think my whole philosophy and my difference of opinion with you and pretty much all of our other friends, except Tomas, is that
episode 70 something.
Yeah.
Tomas
I don't
Jones.
know where he came on this thing.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Tom Skipper.
It's like I don't really believe in a relationship until you've seen like a lot of people, and just like every day I'm like finding more about myself. Oh, this is getting fucking emotional.
Aww.
But like
Angel's gonna like this.
no, she's gonna be done. Said I'd rather jerk off, and like what the fuck was that? No, but it's like I think if you've been with like 10 or fewer people, it's just like how the fuck that's such.
How do you have any data?
Yeah, and again, like the girl I saw right when we left the apartment coming here, I'm like, who knows? Maybe our personalities were perfect for each other, and she's attractive, and like that could be the girl. And there's so, like you said, there's so many people. I'm just like, there is that perfect fit. So I'm just like, oh, I want to find it. But then like you get close to it, and you're like, no, I'm leaving.
Right
like,
now,
no.
you want to settle down somewhere.
Okay, so her perspective, really quick.
I think it's mostly because your home changes so much. It's one thing if you live in New York consistently for the long run, and you just travel for 1 month at a time.
That's what I'm like. Oh, that's what you should
You're
be
like
doing.
literally not coming back to Chicago.
I know. And
Or
then the
Miami
other girl
after
that I'm seeing,
or LA after that.
she's like, oh, so I'm not gonna see you again after this weekend, and that's why I said Ecuador. She's like, oh, come to Ecuador
you're
in January.
fucked, Pop.
And I'm like, dude, what? Like,
That's
what
heavy.
is the fucking point? Like, I've never, like, the reason why I got into like learning how to talk to people during the day, it was never for like sex. Like that never fucking was like interesting to me. It was more like I see that person, I want to meet them. I think maybe we have like a crazy connection and experience in life together. That's what was always interesting to me. And now I'm like, okay, I'm there. Why is that?
What's that thing called where like you see someone on the street and they have their own little bubble of complete universe in life, and you may know nothing about it? That's kind of freaky. And I think you're trying to combat that by figuring out as much as possible.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Starts with
to
an
me.
S.
So okay. Oh fuck. So.
Okay, her point of view.
Yeah. So what was interesting to me, because I'm like, I've been asking this question a lot of people, is like, what was your first impression when we met, or when you met this person, or whatever? Just because, like, I like the radical honesty. Like, once you open up, what's amazing, like, I think why the connection was really deep last night was because I was honest, and then she's honest, and then like, you're like, oh wow, there's no front anymore. It's like you're genuine. So I asked her, like, what do you think? Like, do you remember when we met? Like, because it was fucking a long time ago. She's like, yeah, well, I went into Starbucks and I saw you, and like, oh, that boy, he's cute.
Really?
And she's also like, yeah, and you kept like looking over at me. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's true. But she's like, yeah, I just figured I'd get my coffee and leave. And she's like, oh, that was a cute boy, and I'll never see him again. And she's like really excited when I came up and talked to her.
Really? Well, this is gonna confuse you some more.
No,
Well, I'm saying confuse you more because now imagine for all the people like her that may be thinking that same thing that you don't go up and talk to.
But what's weird is she'll also give me the perspective of, like, say she's on the train and some like 40-year-old guy comes up and talks to her, like this, like, where is the line between, oh, that's like romantic, that's like a love story, right, and that's creepy,
right? And
you don't know. Like, luckily, I'm like, oh, we're kind of similar, or probably potentially into each other, so it's okay. But like when I got in trouble with our friend group, it was like if that girl had liked me, that I like touched on the arm or like did whatever, then it'd be a love story. But now it's an intervention, and it's like, how the fuck are you supposed to read minds? So it's just tricky. But
radical honesty sounds like one way.
Yeah. No, that's why it's good. Like, now that I'll ask you,
like,
hey,
I did this. Is it, yeah.
The point is, like, it's kind of sad to me that like she would see me, but she's like, I'm not gonna talk to you. Like, I'm not that type of person. I've never done that. I've only met people through Tinder, and this is like the most refreshing. I loved that, and like I loved your voice messages, and you just felt like such a real person. And I'm like,
oh wow, Pop.
So I got sentimental, and then, but on the other side, I was getting soft, and then I went to, like, it was 1:30 in the morning, and I like was going to bed. I put my phone.
Did you write
up.
her a letter?
No. Oh my god, dude. Maybe I should tell that story.
I don't know that one.
Well, oh dude, that's kind of funny. I put my phone back, and you know how there's that apartment across from. Remember when we saw like the people that fucked and were cleaning up?
Yeah.
I look over, and it's the same dude and the same chick making out heavy.
So you got jealous?
I'm like, fuck, that should be me right now. And then they're making out really heavy, and I'm just staring. I'm like, I was looking at him.
Peeping Tom.
I even got creepy. I got the knocks out, and I was like, I'm like, wait, I got him out, and I'm like, well, I'm way too close.
Whoa.
That's actually creepy. I should put that away.
Yeah.
It's bad having the knocks there, but I'm curious, and I was really frustrated. But then I see that, and I'm like, fuck. Like, my mind was just so rattled. I'm like,
well, even
I'm at this like transition state. Even I told her I'm at this weird transition where I've just been kind of seeing a decent amount of people, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is the point of all of this? But I still like seeing a lot of people. I'm like, I'm all fucked up in the head right now.
We've even talked about a lot of these things. One day, like, this stuff is all transpiring within like 2 or 4 weeks. It's just one pendulum swing one way one day, and then the other. Oh, maybe that's the thumbnail. You get the pendulum going. It's just like, well, what matters? What do you value? What's real? What is life?
What's like? It was kind of funny. We were talking about the way I live my life, and she's like, "Oh, I could never do. Like, I just need certainty." Like, because she just loves, like, she's the 9-to-5 person. She's like, "Oh my god, I just like your life is so crazy to me, but in like an interesting way. Like, I would love to live like that. I just need certainty. I need like." Because she's about to be a doctor, and she's just like med school track. Also has like $400K in debt, so that's fucking crazy. I can't even imagine that. But she's like, I guess doctors make a lot, so that's fine. I don't know. But it's just like my whole life has been like around spontaneity, but I've just been doing it the wrong way. Where what you said with, you want to have a home base and like you really just get to know people there. You can throw a party. You can have like a fun time. You really have like an actual social group.
You have that core to go back to.
Like, we go to LA. There's my current concern is we go to LA and I'm living alone. I don't really know many people. And I'm like, I'm going to go out and meet people.
I think 2 things too. First of all, I think in your heart of hearts, you want to be in New York forever. That's 1. 2, we've got really good friends here, like Chicago and Jack and Matt. Like, they're good friends. You will never see them you're going to live with Matt for a month, but like,
right.
You will not like develop that relationship with Jack, who is a good dude. He's probably listening to this, right? But like, well, you're going to leave town and like, that's it for Jack. And then maybe you see each other. Like, look at our friends. We see them, once a year?
Right. It reminds me of, I don't know, I saw some tweet, but it's probably similar with you. It's like, or Athena saying like she never wants to go on a first date again. Like, you've built such a deep connection with this person, and then you're going to wipe it all out like that? I'm like, I go to LA, say I meet someone, it goes phenomenally well, but they can't move to New York. And I'm like, I want to be in New York. That's where all my friends are. I can't stay in LA.
This is interesting. So in Seth Godin's book, The Dip, one thing he says to absolutely, definitely stay away from is the cliff. And it's a graph, and we should put it up. But the biggest cliff we know is cigarette smoke, where each day you use it, it actually gets that much harder to quit. Like, it's going up. The foundation of it is building so strongly, and then you get emphysema and you die, you drop off a cliff. And I think relationships are good in the opposite of that, where each day that goes by, you're building up that cliff, where the foundation is growing with you. It does become increasingly harder to get out of it because each day has led to the next. So I don't know. I wonder if Seth Godin's point would be cliffs are good for relationships.
Wait, that means you break up and what is?
No, I just mean like the basis for a graph, a cliff, a habit that is a cliff, or a thing that is a cliff, is as each day goes on, it becomes progressively harder to quit that thing and go in another direction. Right.
So you're gonna kill yourself after, like, when you build up this high.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's why, like, she was in a 6-year relationship, and it's like, I can't imagine, like, 6. That's fucking crazy to me. And then breaking up and starting over, like, I would. I don't know. So I've just I've had this reckoning, of like, I'm becoming an adult now. I'm like, no, I I still like the idea of like meeting a lot of people, doing the stuff. It's fun, but like when you meet that person, what happens then?
You're self-sabotaging because you leave.
Right. So now I'm like, why am I going to LA? Because I want to surf, and then I got to somehow find someone that has a job where they can move to New York.
That's right. See, that's
Not
right.
that like
Probably-
I've always said like I'm not gonna get married till like my mid-30s, and I still probably I don't know. I don't
But
really
what
know.
you should probably do is live in New York, have your core in New York, be in New York, and go to LA for 2 weeks every third month for the winter or whatever it is.
Right, but then I'm like, why am I going to LA just to? I guess.
Warm weather and surf
I guess.
because you can.
I don't know. It's been maybe we should stop this and shoot the next fucking Nivy shit because that we didn't even get to anything at all. We talked about the sandwich.
We've got 3 clipped ink trademark letters to open on camera, but it doesn't feel appropriate now. Hey,
sadly.
I think that's a good place to tie a bow on this, as in we figured out nothing. But
Well, no, I figured out. Well,
I know you're figuring these things out, and there was actually a lot in these 40 minutes. We don't have an answer. We don't have a solution. But each
No,
day, it's
I think it's kind of one of those like people see, at least back in the day when it was novel, like, oh, I work remote, or what is, I forget there was a term for like free, like you could work from anywhere, whatever. But people would see that it's like, oh, I'm working on the beach, and like, oh, that's such a awesome life you're living. But no, it sucks.
no.
And
You
it's-
have to really like to be alone.
Yeah, and it's like
It's really lonely.
I think what I'm realizing is like this. I'm just not using the freedom in the right way. Like it's just the superficially cool one. Oh yeah, we're going to Miami for a month just to fuck around. Like, sure, that's cool, and it'll probably have cool stories. But what's the point of that? It's like I'm
Right. The freedom, the way I see it is, let's say again, you're in New York. Using the freedom probably the right way would be to sneak a luncheon with Ice from 12 to 12:30 because that's the only time he
Right.
can during the week. And then to quickly drive down to Connecticut to be able to see Tom on a Tuesday afternoon to play
or Tomas.
or Tomas. Well, Tuesday afternoon, that's Tom.
Yeah.
He's got glasses on. To play soccer for the afternoon, right? Like
Well, and
that's where you'll probably find deep meaning.
I think for me, I'm realizing that the point of money and freedom is like I also we talked about last night, like traveling alone, because she's like, oh, I'm a girl, like we just can't do that and whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I like it, but you don't have that shared experience and you can't talk about it with anybody. Like, what are you gonna say? Oh yeah, I almost died on a volcano.
Yeah, right.
And fucking they're like, oh, that's crazy, but it's like, no, like you don't understand. Like, I don't know how to paint this, but if you were there, it'd just be like something you never forget together. There's that connection. So the point, I think my ideal life is New York, and then have enough money where like you meet someone cool and you're like, hey, tomorrow let's get on a flight and go to Ecuador or go wherever.
Right.
That you can do without worrying about it.
Right.
That's the fun versus like, oh, I want to go live there. Or you find a person that's flexible too, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to live there too for a little bit.
Right. So instead of leaving Chicago on Monday, it's like this person I'm seeing, let's go to where you grew up in Ecuador on Monday and do that for 4 days.
That's so cool. Okay, I've just like,
That's kind of the inverse. That's kind of the inverse of freedom, is having that home base, being spontaneous with the people that matter,
right.
as opposed to being spontaneous alone and having to start from scratch everywhere you go.
The problem for most people, luckily we're like getting to a good position, but like that's actually like, if you wanted to live in New York, you do probably, to do what I'm saying, you have to make like over 200 grand a year, which is like a lot. But that's kind of, once you get there, it's like, that's all you really need.
I was going to say, so you're telling me we got to shoot another podcast and figure out how to make money. How about that?
I think so. Hey, I want to tell that story though, quick. So ADOC, every good story is out of ADOC. ADOC, that's
A
where we
day
met.
on College Hill
Sorry, yeah.
at Brown
Just the
University.
context.
Yeah, look,
It's
radical
kind of
honesty.
a similar situation of I was dating this girl actually at the time, but high school relationships, they're kind of, I don't believe in them. But I was dating a girl, came to accepted students day, and I was like, oh, bunch of nerds. I'm like the only athlete here. Like I just didn't see, I'm like, y'all let me slip the fuck in. That's hilarious. I just want to fuck around. So I met you because you were the only athletic looking person at flag football, first person I talked to. But I also went to, I think we met at improv comedy show, and it was really funny. I sat next to this girl.
Sorry, I don't think people like fully understand when you go to admitted students day at Brown University, like the group of people that's playing flag football.
Yeah.
They're computer scientists.
I know.
It's bad.
Because it's like
It's
the
really
people
bad.
smart enough to debate going to Brown. Right? They're like, I have better options. Like,
And then using something like flag football as a
Like-
front to meet people. It's bad. It's
keep in mind.
and you were deep in it. I was worried.
Accepted in no other good schools, at least on the same level. So I already committed. I was just like, I'm gonna fuck around. I'm not debating shit. I'm just here to fuck around. And so I met this girl. I forget where, but we ended up sitting together at an improv comedy show, and like really, I don't know. We had a good time. Like it was fun banter or whatever. And we I forget what the fuck we did. We hung out for a bit, and then we like went back because she was staying in a dorm, or that's what people do. And I was like, oh, whatever. I don't know. This is the first time.
You did the same thing.
No, it was gonna make me look bad. But no, I just like whatever. We kissed, and then she's like, okay, whatever, and left. She was debating. She was debating going to like fucking. I forget what school. Some other good school. And so she was debating that with her parents. Oh, she was from she had like a. It doesn't matter. It was fucking one of the. It's really close. That's why it was like a USC sort of full ride deal, or Brown, like she would have to pay for it all. So I'm like, oh no, I'll tell your parents you should come here. And she's like, oh really? That'd be awesome. I'm like, yeah, I'll write them a letter. Fuck it.
Oh.
And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah.
I do remember this.
And then after, it was like the next day, I'm like, wait, should I actually write this girl's parents a letter? I'm like, probably. I mean, we had a good time. And I remember like being in the house, like writing the letter out, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's really embarrassing. We'll probably put it up.
Do you know this person now? Well, you must.
But what's funny was Viv, because she ended up going to Yale, and Viv knew her from Yale.
Oh, that's right.
Ruin the story. Basically, I wrote her this this whole like love letter. I mean, it seemed like a love letter. I didn't really mean it like that. I kind of felt like guilted into it, but I also liked her, so I'm like, oh, it would be cool. Your parents, I met your daughter. She should come here. It was like, it was very soft, but then she ends up getting off the wait list at Yale. So she's like, hey, Dylan, like that was awesome. Like I'm going to Yale, so kudos.
So this happens a lot to you.
Apparently.
You gotta stop falling in love with people.
But whatever. Like a year later, there's some like school dance, and I meet this girl or something, and she's like, wait, you're Dylan Jardon? I'm like, yeah. It's like, wait. You talked to Astrid, right? You're the one that wrote her the love letter? I'm like, huh.
Oh no.
I'm like,
your folklore.
Word gets around. Like, oh my God.
What a legend.
I didn't know you were so in love. Didn't you just like meet that one time? I'm like, I kind of felt guilted into it. But I guess I've been doing this a lot. It
sounds like maybe your problems stem from these things.
That's not a statement.
From these experiences.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of
people.
the curse of meeting a lot of people.
Right.
It's like almost,
and then
it'd
you
be
can
better
say, hell with relationships, because look how many times they keep burning me.
Well, no, I have fun. Like, I like the story. I like everything about it. And it's not like, I love it in the moment. And generally after I'm fine with it too. But it's only in like, for some reason, I'm starting to care more now.
Dylan grows up. There's the title. I'm not licensed to give advice on any of this. I can only listen. Pop, is that what you had for Podpod?
It's funny because
Come
I
on,
lost track of the story about
Air it all out.
30 minutes in. Lost everybody.
I have a feeling people are going to listen to this and be like, wow, I learned a lot about Dylan today. And
No,
that
but
will be a win.
I think, no, people shouldn't care about me. It's more like I've always prided myself on assessing true priorities in life. And kind of like how we thought our rule book was the shit. I'm like, oh, I thought my priorities were locked in. I knew what the fuck I was doing. But I realized they're totally wrong. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Luckily, it's easy to pivot. It's not like I'm stuck in some job or some relationship and I can't get out. It's like, okay, I know the change I have to make. It's just kind of, it's sad in the moment.
This is also from Seth Godin. He says, you got to quit the cul-de-sacs. The book is all about when to quit and when not to quit, right? When you're in a dip, it's called the dip. You don't quit because if you grind through that dip, you become the best in the world. The cul-de-sacs are, it's a graph or not. It's just a cul-de-sac. It just goes round and round and round. And you got to quit those. You're realizing this priority or that priority. It's just a cul-de-sac. You're just running in a circle. And you're like, I got to quit that. I got to stop moving around every month, every 2 months.
But for me, so it's the same thing. Like someone asks, our clips are getting a lot of views on Instagram and Twitter if y'all don't follow. But someone saw Naval's video and was like, oh, she also watched the full podcast and was like, wow, you're so much different in person. I'm like, yeah. Because I'm like super like slow talking, like fucking slow wit in person. And like, no, you look like really fun there. I'm like, yeah.
On the podcast?
Yeah, because she saw the farting episode, which is like
well, I mean,
us. Don't lose sight of this, Dylan. What the fuck were we gonna talk about? Okay. Point being, like, oh, someone had asked. They saw the video and they're like, "Hey, what are your actual goals with Smart Nonsense?" And I'm like, still don't know. I'm like, is this a lifestyle company where it's just get to that $250,000? Don't have to worry.
I know what we
about
need
that.
to do today. Because we goal set for 3 years and 5 years and 10 years, and we wrote it on the whiteboard. And in a matter of 2 weeks, we like hit all those things. And we haven't done it since. We don't have a North Star.
Yeah, I don't. But I still
right
don't,
now.
Like, that's okay. Justin Kahn, he has his YouTube channel and he's founded Twitch. I don't know, made $100 million or something.
No. Well, I don't know about him personally. They sold for $800 million.
Right. So he made a lot of money. Money's not an issue.
Yeah.
But then
Hundreds
he went on this, like, his whole channel is like, what the fuck is the value of money? Like, it didn't make me happier past a certain point, and you just hear that a lot. And that's why I didn't want to work on Wall Street, because I'm like, oh, money's only good to a point. Granted, some people say it's fucking dope at every level and just make like 30 million and fucking, that's amazing. But I'm like, why the fuck? Why would you try so hard to build $1 billion company when all I've found that matters is hang out with cool people, going and having cool experiences? Like, you don't need that much money for that. Like, when I went to Cuba and they had more fun dancing at that. I think I wrote one of my essays on that. It was like, they had so much fun, and it was the poorest fucking squalor. Literally, we were on top of a dilapidated garage building, like a fucking parking garage, on top in like shipping containers. They put like several shipping containers and carved out doorways, and that's where they were living. It was an entire family, but they were fucking laughing. It was unbelievable. And that was the pivotal moment for me to be like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to do what I want. I want to learn how to talk to people, meet them. That's how I got into that. And now I'm going back. I'm like, the fucking grind with Clipped, it's just like, say we get there, like what we sacrificed 10 years, because you don't build a massive company without real sacrifice.
True.
And you get
we
there
sacrifice, I guess, like Peter Diamandis,
he was on Tim Ferriss
X Prize guy
yesterday.
His motivation and what he would say, and it's probably ours, is to build those big things, not to make $1 billion, but to help 1 billion people.
But I'm too selfish for that. Like, I'd rather help myself at least first, and then maybe I don't know.
Right, like that's where the vision was, like, help people tell better stories. Like, if that's the goal, then you build the thing to help 1 billion people do that better.
But
because we have some knowledge about how to do that. It's selfish to not give more people that opportunity.
I'm so selfish though that it's like me living my 20% life versus me living my 100% life. Why would I live my 20% life? Maybe it's higher if you build a fucking $1 billion company, but maybe it fails too, and then it's like you really wasted it, and likely it would fail. Like, why not just live the 100 and then?
I don't know. What I do know is I listened to Tiffany Haddish on Smartless. She said the same thing about Panama. She goes down there a lot. She's just like full of life, kicking it, dancing, having a good time.
Well, that's what I was talking about with these other Colombian girls who fuck, this sounds really bad, but we hung out with like Jack, Misha, and their two couples, Alex and I won't say her name, I don't even remember it properly, but basically all hang out and they're like making a lot of money, like they come from like upper class, like really actually up there, and they're so boring. And they're like, it's like the prim and proper stuff that I'm like, all this money and like working at a beach club where everything would be like super white glove. It's like, fuck that. That sucks ass. I want to like, it's fun to get like sloppy drunk with your friends and like fucking shoot the shit and like do crazy things. That's so much cooler to me than any of the high class lifestyle. So it doesn't have really an appeal to me beyond the freedom.
Quit it.
Hey, we might fall asleep. I think.
No, it's really deep, Pop. But I think we got to do some goal setting.
I think like Tim Ferriss does it a lot. I wasn't doing it frequently enough, going back and goal setting. I did it once junior year or sophomore year. Kind of maybe once in like the last 6 years, but not really. Now I'm at that point again. It's like I want to go back and list like what is my ideal life? What are my anti-goals for that ideal life? And then how do we get there? Or how do I get there? Like you probably have totally different ones, and maybe that's where I just stay smart nonsense and you go clipped. I don't know.
And there you have it.
I don't know.
A fireside chat in the books for Smart Nonsense Media. Pop, anything else?
I'm going to eat this sandwich and then we're going to shoot Nibby.
Let's go. See ya.